Hi guys, welcome back to part 2 of the relationships and advice videos. So, in the last video I talked a little bit about some of the things that can be useful for relationships, that can be the sort of glue, and also a couple of things that, things without some of these things I mentioned, can lead to the quick dissolving of a relationship. So I'm just going to sort of continue a little bit along the same sort of lines, really. I think it's important, first of all, to say that if you've come from a background where there was issues in childhood, let's say, whether that's for your parents or whether that's for your brothers or sisters or whatever it was, there was some dysfunctional elements within your family or within yourself growing up. I think, and I know this from personal experience, I think it's the best thing you can do is to try and deal with that stuff first. That's what I would recommend. But then again, sometimes it takes you having to be in a couple of relationships before you really sort of see for yourself what's going on. So it's not always, like everything in life, things aren't always as simple as people make them out to be. And I'm not trying to make them out to be simple, those are not. But if you have an inclination that something's not quite right within yourself, whether it's mental health, whether it's just sort of, you just have some very troublesome elements within yourself, whether that's behaviour, your attitude, some habits, bad habits, whether that's gambling or alcoholism or being addicted to drugs or addicted to sex, even, whatever, then those are things you need to deal with pretty swiftly. I would say that they're things you need to sort out first. And also, I think you need to live a little bit as well. I think you need to travel by yourself. You need to live your own life. I think you need to be moulded as an adult to some degree before anybody will really be interested in you as a partner, and potentially somebody. If someone's looking for a long-term relationship, they're certainly looking for someone that's. I mean, of course, there's all sorts of things that people look for in partners, but I think one of the major things is someone that's lived a little bit. Certainly when you get into your 20s and 30s, someone that's around the same age, 25, 30, 35, 40, whatever, or older than that, is obviously looking for someone that's got a bit of life experience. And the reason for that is because that person will want you to be able to, wants you to obviously have some knowledge about life, some level of maturity, some level of wisdom, but also some level of, if someone wants a long-term relationship, they're looking for commitment. And commitment, it's not just about being with the person that you're supposed to love. It's about being loyal to that person, and that's a key thing in long-term relationships, is the aspects of loyalty when things are going a little bit sour. Perhaps there's some drama that's happening in your life, or maybe you're having a child, or you're about to have a child. You're moving places. Your life's sort of maybe going off in a little bit of an opposite direction, perhaps. And there's all sorts of things that come along that you don't obviously expect. It's a lot of unexpected U-turns and sort of just changing direction. Sort of just things happen in life, and it's those things that, if you genuinely really want to be with somebody and that person makes you happy, those are the kind of things that you're going to have to try and get through. Those are the things you're going to have to get through to keep your relationship alive. So I'm gonna try and make this video 15 minutes again, like the last time. I don't think there will be a part 3 to this. So I'm gonna try and keep it to 2 parts. But yeah, I've learned a lot about myself through relationships, and probably, yeah, I think I learned more about myself through relationships than I did when I was single, really. But that could just be that I wasn't perhaps doing as much as I should have been when I didn't have a partner. But I really recommend that if you are single, that you try to do as much as you just try to if you've been through some poor relationships, or they just didn't work out for some reason. Maybe they did work out for a while, but then circumstances threw you apart for whatever. Maybe it wasn't even of your own fault or your partner's fault. It was just things just happened and you just couldn't be together anymore. Maybe your partner moved cities, moved country or something, whatever. Shit happens and things happen all the time that unfortunately tear people apart that perhaps could have had a long, good relationship or a relationship of some sort. It's important to have a life of your own, I think, first. Like I said earlier, I settled down quite early in some ways, and I kind of wish I hadn't. I should have spent my early 20s really partying, and my ex at the time did say that, and she was right. I should have done that, and I don't so much as regret it. I mean, I still went out. I did do those things anyway, went clubbing and partying and all that sort of side of things, but some of it wasn't for me, and I sort of got bored of that lifestyle very quickly. It's just because I saw through it. Like, the thing with me is I see through a lot of things very, very quickly. At least I think I do anyway. I could be wrong, but I tend to get an idea of people and things, situations quite quickly. I try to work things out as quickly as I possibly can. One of the things I would like to say is exes are exes for a reason, obviously, and relationships go sour when the honesty dies, when the trust dies, when you both the thing is as well, sometimes you don't actually know who you really are and what you really want or need from yourself, from your life, or from your partner until it's too late. Sometimes you can be a year down the road, 3 and 4, 5, 10 years into a relationship or longer, and you're suddenly like, oh, I don't want this anymore. I don't like this. This is not really what I wanted. It's not what I planned. It's not what I foresaw in this relationship. And sometimes you can't blame your partner. Sometimes things just happen, and life just changes things. Circumstances, for whatever reason, just change, and you're just not compatible through. You might be compatible, but you're not compatible through getting through those hard times, and it's getting through those hard times that really shows whether you're really going to work, I think. And of course, everything comes to an end at some point. I mean, all relationships end at some point, either through breakup, divorce, or maybe separation for a period of time, or somebody's very ill, or somebody dies, or something like that. So at some point, no matter how long you're together, it will come to an end at some point, probably through death, if you're together for forever, whatever. And that's the one thing I'd learned from my last relationship, is that that's okay. It's okay for things to end. It's okay for things to change as long as you are able to adapt to them. It's not always that the change that happens to you is necessarily bad. In fact, in a lot of ways, it's very positive. It's good to have because the me now is not necessarily the me in 10 years from now. The David Brown in 10 years from now might not necessarily be the same person 10 years from then, and so forth. It's all good and well to say I'll be with somebody for the rest of my life. I mean, fine, if you think that's something that you can do, then all right, fine. But I personally think it's a bit of a naive thing to think, because if I said that at 15, And if I felt at 15 that if I married somebody at, say, well, not 15, but 18, let's say, which I actually nearly got married at 20 or 21 years old, which would have been a very, very grave error, to say the least. And thankfully, that didn't happen. And I would certainly not have been, I'm pretty certain I wouldn't have been with that same person now. So even if I say now that I'll be with the same person in 10, 20 years from now, it's yes, it's good to have plans and goals and to try best at relationships, and maybe that is the case. Maybe I will be with the same my partner now in 10 years from now. And in some ways, I hope I am, but I don't know. I can't foresee the future. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what's going to happen down the line. She might get bored. I might get bored. Our lives might just grow apart, or we might just change through the ravages of time. Things happen, things change, and I wish I could. In some ways, I wish I could have that sustainability, and maybe I will. But I don't. I try not to think about. I just try to take things as they come. Really, I think when you plan to get married, and when you get married, you start to pile on more pressure. And then once you start to get kids, and you start planning all the big decisions on all the big things that you're supposed to have in your life by, say, 40, I think it's a matter of time before things start to become, in some ways, manipulative. And that's one thing I want to talk about is once you or somebody else in your relationship starts to become manipulative beyond the point of humour and beyond the point of just sort of what's considered, I don't know, considered, but what might be considered normal, is when you start to get the impression that things aren't quite going the way that you'd like them to. If you feel that you need to change, not if you feel like if you think you need to change for that other person to be happy, even though you feel that you are the best that you can be, then I think that's not a good sign. If you're having to be manipulative, or your partner's being manipulative, or your potential partner's being manipulative to get you to, chase them or to, to sort of lick their boots, as it were, or become their little slave dog, or whatever the fuck it is, whatever little games, that is a bad sign. And of course, sometimes you can work through things, and I'm not saying that just because you go through a bad patch or a bad couple of months or even a year or something that's necessarily relationship finished, because we all have our little shit. And that's the thing I'd say. Last thing I want to say as we approach the 15-minute mark is you have to decide at the end of the day what you're willing to tolerate. Okay, and that's the same for your partner or potential partner, because there's going to be a point where you're going to get sick and tired of that person's habits. That doesn't mean that you don't love them. It's just normal. It's human. We get familiar with things, and sometimes familiarity is good, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it turns into boredom. So it's important to keep a relationship alive by doing new things. Also keep something familiar. Also accept that person is who they are. And if you feel that they need to change 50 or more percent of themselves to fit into something that you want them to be, even though they're not going to be that, then that's probably it's time to just walk in opposite direction. So decide what you're willing to accept, or what you want from somebody early on. I think work at it. If you think it's going to work, then keep working at it, and maybe it will come to, you will be strong, and things will. And obviously, like anything, things get better over time through making, through errors, through making mistakes. And relationships are like that. It's very much trial and error type of thing. Relationships are wonderful. They can be one of the most amazing things that can happen to you, but it can also be one of the most destructive things. And but part of that process is, part of the process of how things pan out is to some extent down to you. So really think carefully, and like I said earlier, Go and live your life first before you get into a relationship. Try to find out as best as you can, given your age and circumstances and all that type of thing, of who you are. What do you want? Make sure that you get yourself in check before you sort of put yourself into somebody else's hands, as in a sense. You are in control of your own life. Just because you get with somebody and have a relationship or marry someone, they don't own you, you don't own them. You're two separate people. You've come together to share something, to try and build something. Live your own lives, but also live your life together. But don't forget who you are. That's my number one advice. Don't forget who you are. Because that can happen very quickly. You need to have an understanding of where you want to go. What is it you're trying to achieve? Why do you want to be with this person? Is it really love? Is it love or is it money? Is it love or is it just sex? Or is it something else? Be honest with yourself. If you're honest with yourself and you're honest with your partner, that's a good one of the major foundations in relationships that are strong, is people that are honest with each other. Even if that means you argue sometimes, it's important to tell each other the truth. If you feel like shit, if you feel like your partner's not doing something or is doing something that upsets you or annoys you, tell them. It's your life at the end of the day. It's your life. And if that person's not making you happy, or if that person's deliberately not making you happy, then call it a day. Tell them to fuck off. Tell them that it's not working. You're not trying hard enough. I'm putting 70% into the relationship and you're putting the rest of it. It doesn't work like that. You both have to have, first of all, you have to have common goals, shared things that you both like to do, but also things that you don't like to do together. Have friends, make sure you have friends, that's important. And make sure that you understand each other's families very quickly, family dynamics, the politics in the relationship. Try to keep the drama out of it as much as you can, because you're going to have enough of your own anyway. Travel. Do things together that can build your relationship. Don't just go to the cinema or just go bowl. Try to do things that maybe sometimes do things that the types of things that got you together in the first place, perhaps. Maybe if that is bowling or if that is going to the cinema or something, then all right, great. Because that can rekindle the spark. I'll just say this because I've gone over the 15-minute mark. After a while, things can become a little bit like just a circle. It's just a circle, and you're going round and round and a roundabout rather, and just going round and round and round it, and you aren't going in any direction. That's important because then it's a time to reflect on the relationship, and sometimes maybe you just need to sit down with your partner and just say, look, where are we going? What are we doing here? Are we working towards something? Are we trying to build something here, or are we just together for the sake of being together? Maybe because of status, maybe because you're lonely or something, or I've got something to offer you or something. And of course, if there is an element of that, there's obviously something in you that person wants or needs, perhaps. But make sure it's not pretentious, it's not a shallow relationship. If you want a real relationship, that takes dedication, I'm afraid. That is hard, and there is going to be patches, bumps, turbulence, some pretty bad turbulence along the way. And you're going to have to be able to work at it and be more. And of course, that will come with age, that will come with time together. But when you're starting to think about big plans, think very carefully about them. And remember, don't change who you are completely for the other person, because you will regret that. Be yourself with your partner. Don't be somebody else, because that doesn't work either. But remember that it's okay to be yourself when you're on your own, and it's also okay to be yourself or to hide some elements of yourself when you're with your partner or when you're on your own. So it's okay to have an ego, but keep it in check. And make sure that the person that you are with is really the person you want to be with. Because time ticks away quickly. And before you know it, you might be 3 years into a relationship, 5 years into a relationship, and you're like, fuck, where's that time gone? I'm miserable. I've wasted the last 5 years of my life on someone I don't really like anymore. I've not liked for the last 2 years or something. Just, if honest, I would say really the number one thing is to be honest with yourself. First of all, be honest with yourself. Because if you can't be honest with yourself, you can't be honest with anybody else. So, yeah, so I'll leave it there. I hope this has helped. I hope this has been some useful advice. I mean, like, my relationship past is not really. I don't have too many to talk about. But I've lived a lot. I've lived a while now, and I've been in relationships twice. So I've got some experience, and I can tell you that there's been some great moments, some fantastic things that will be with me for the rest of my life, and some things I'd rather forget. And I'm sure that will continue in the future. Maybe, probably. I'm sure it will. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much for watching, and please check out my other videos that I've uploaded in the last couple of days, and I'm going to try and upload some more funny stuff next week, maybe towards the end of this week even. I might even produce some more videos about family or travel. I think probably might do one about travel. But I'm going to try and upload some more funny stuff and some more ASMR type videos. I'll put the information about that in the video when I put it up in the next one. So thank you very much, and yeah, thank you for watching my videos. Please subscribe, please comment, and I'll see you soon. Thank you very much. Bye bye.